Yeah, great. So, does anyone remember where we left last time in the last session? So, Cyrus is joining for the first time. Welcome, Cyrus. Redmi. And Biren ji, Amit ji, and Shweta, if you have any remembrance of even a bit clues and hints would be fine to start with where we left last time, if you have any idea.
I don't remember actually.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, if someone remembers, and it would be nice if we can have an overlap. Otherwise, I'll remind ourselves. That's okay. So let me do that then. So we left at, I'll just share the screen where we left at. So this is where we left at. I think we were here talking about the psychic being last to last week, and we were discussing that how this inner voice or the inner guidance needs to be the master of our being. Otherwise, the emotions do their own havoc, the intellect and the mind, their own agendas and manipulations. So we need a center. Although reason is a capacity which is kind of a moderator of emotions, if we can say that if I reason, if I rationalize a thing, then I see that I can put the emotions a little down. Yeah, emotions can follow the reason, but many a times, first of all, it is not possible because the force of the emotions is so strong, and also that reason, owing to the fact that it can look at everything from several angles. This is a great strength with reason, but it can also become a weakness because of the force of emotions. So if the force of emotions is very strong, then they can use up the reason to justify the emotional need. Yeah, and then we are swayed from the center. We are not able to listen to the true guidance of the psychic being or the inner voice, as we were discussing. So the idea in integral education, as we were exploring, was to can we do this, can we get in touch more and more in as many moments as possible with this inner guidance, inner voice, which is a very shy, faint, muffled voice. It is not very assertive in nature, it is not very aggressive in nature, while the noise from ego or the mind is more aggressive in nature. Yeah, so that's what integral education is focused about. That the body, Sri Aurobindo and Mother say that the body is a very docile instrument. It does not, it is not that manipulative as the vital or the mind. So when the mind tunes in to the higher guidance, when the emotions follow the higher guidance, body also falls into place. So that's the beauty, that we don't have to do much with the body, tuning in with the body gets aligned automatically when the mind and the emotions are aligned. Yeah, so we ended here almost. So anything from here, or anything from the last time, if you have any questions or doubts or anything.
Yeah, Shweta, I think I missed this one. The way we are showing this diagram, psychic being in the center, and then we have the 3 dimensions. Do we also have the same one for our, what you call, I mean, like we have psychic being, is there anything else what we also have?
uh, so you are saying that more parts of our being.
What is man here? I mean, what is the role of man? What
मन,
we call so-called man?
तो या मन आएगा इंटेलेक्ट में, अभी
अच्छा,
हम उसको आज शुरू करेंगे. वी विल टच
ठीक
अपॉन
है.
द माइंड, लेयर्स ऑफ द माइंड.
Got it. But psychic being is, who is psychic being in our, is it what we call soul?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yes.
ठीक,
So
thank you.
yes, in the language of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, soul is the center around which the psychic being develops. Yeah, so it is almost they say that psychic being is the spokesperson of the soul. जब हम कहते हैं ना कि सब में भगवान है, everybody has a divine essence. So the voice of the divine essence speaks through the psychic being. It's like a little formation around the soul. Yeah, so this is the terminology which is used in integral education.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Many times we'll be using a psychic being or soul parallelly. Sometimes we'll say soul, mostly psychic being. So it almost refers to the same part of the being. Yeah. Okay. So mother says that this is that part of our being which is in direct touch with the divine essence, purity, light, and guidance. It's the direct. So, whenever we see that there is something ugly, some movement I did during the day which was very ugly in nature. So, what in me sees that ugliness? That seeing is coming from the psychic being, that I'm able to see the weakness and hence I can go beyond the weakness. So that was where we left, and we'll pick up the threads from here. Sorry for the break that we had. And today we are just going to also talk about what we were sharing earlier. We were talking about the journey of life. We started in the beginning with the journey of life needs a driver, which is ourselves, the vehicle, which is all the life movements, people that come and go in our life, the life situations, that is the vehicle, and the destination. And tentatively, we said that the destination is happiness. If I am doing a job, if I find contentment and happiness there, then it makes sense. So tentative destination was happiness, driver is me, and the vehicle is the whole of life. Now there is very beautiful thing that Dr. Ramesh Bijlani shares in his book, and I'm consulting different books here. So he says that if my goal is to become a teacher, you know it's a misplaced focus. It cannot be a goal being a teacher. So what kind of work I am doing, what kind of people I am living with, what kind of maybe a country I am living in, all that it is a part of vehicle. So being a teacher cannot be goal of my life. I think this is very good thing that he clears this. I find this very interesting because young people, especially, they are struggling that if I'm not able to do MBA, then my, I'm ruined, or I'll not be able to do anything. If I'm not able to enter corporate, which is my goal, or become an engineer, which is my goal, then I'm ruined. So he says that it is this misplaced focus that we place on not recognizing that being the work that you do, being a teacher, being a corporate CEO, whatever, that is not the goal of your life, but that is the vehicle. But the goal is the happiness or contentment. So I found this very revelatory. Yeah. And he says that the work will always keep on changing. I may want to be a teacher, but situations in my life may make me something else. So shall I just keep on cribbing all my life that I was not able to become a teacher? Yeah. So any work that I am doing, or any family that I am living in, any country that I am living in, any people that I am associated with, all that forms the part of vehicle. I am the driver and all that is vehicle. So this is beautiful that he clarifies that if I fail to get a teaching job, then I will think that I can never be happy. And that's not true. I can make the right choices and be happy. Yeah. So he says now he puts focus on making the right choices. Again, a very, very powerful tool. So first he says that very important to have a distinction between goal and the vehicle. Yeah. Else a lot of stress is there in our life in a desperation to get a particular type of vehicle. I want an MBA, I want this, being a teacher, I want to be a doctor, and if not a doctor, my life is ruined. Yeah. So that is something especially for youngsters also, again, to put into focus that that is only a vehicle. The goal is your happiness or contentment or joy, progress, and that can be achieved through the choices that you are making in your life. So life is a vehicle and no one gets a vehicle of one's choice all the time. How within the framework of my vehicle can I go towards the goal of my life? Okay, so I could not become a teacher. Now I am an engineer. Now knowing that this is what I have, can I make the right choices and move towards the goal? Yeah. So somehow when I was, reading this, it actually clarifies a lot of things. even when we talk to our children, when they are making choices in their career or life, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so then he says that life does have a goal, which again, the main goal we will come to later. And it is the same goal for all of us. Same goal. We may not reach the goal in this lifetime, but the purpose of life is to grow forward towards the goal. Just like in football, it happens, that I may not be able to hit the goal. You are kicking the ball here and there. You may not be able to hit the goal and put it into the net. But the purpose of football is to take the ball towards the goal. So that's again is something very, very beautiful, that the purpose of my life is to make this journey towards the goal. And what is the true goal? We'll be talking about that shortly. Yeah. So please keep on sharing your reflections whenever they come up. Keep sharing. Yeah, so the purpose is to make the right choices. Again, take the example of a football man, a footballer. So he has to make the right choices. Yes, the decision, the final result, he doesn't know whether he's able to hit the goal or not. Yeah, but he has to make the right choices, put it into the right direction, the ball, so that the chances of the ball getting into the net and ultimately hitting the goal, that increases. So that is the purpose. So we have a goal in life, and the purpose of my life is to make the right choices to move towards the goal in a better way. Yeah. And then again, as we were talking about the psychic being, making choices through the inner voice, then he says that when we are making choices through this inner guidance, inner voice, what we actually get as a result parallelly, not after we have done something, no, parallelly when I am doing it, karm hi phal hai jahan hum baat karte hain, the moment you are engaged in a right action, the phal or the result is parallel with it. How? If I am doing any action which is in alignment with my inner voice, I will not wait for the result of that action after few days. The very act of engaging in that action has given me a lasting happiness, that was the right thing to do. So he says that whenever we follow the inner guidance, although at times it may be hard because the voice is a little muffled, we are not able to understand whether it's the voice of conscience or the mind or maybe my emotions or the inner voice. Many a times we are not able to sort, but many a times it is also very, very clear, that you know what you want and what is the right thing. So he says that the moment we take the step according to the alignment with the inner voice, the beauty of it is that it gives me lasting happiness. And then the examples that we were talking of earlier, imagine that there is a teacher and he sees in a classroom there are students, and he sees one of the student is very distracted, he's not paying attention to the subject. And two possibilities are there with the teacher. First thing is he calls the student right then, and maybe shouts at him or whatever, why are you not paying attention? The other thing is that he observes this and says that, okay, let me get in touch with this student later after the session. And then when he talks to the student after the session, he realizes that there was maybe some conflict going on at home owing to the fact that the student was disturbed. Yeah, so this is an action which is a very wise action, rather than going by the impulse of the emotions and saying, why are you not paying attention? Yeah, so this is one of the examples which he gives in the book, that this can be our approach in day to day life. That again, I know that it's at times when one is in the flow of ego, we don't realize that we had to stop or may take a pause in between. But whenever, in whatever situation, we can follow, calm down a little and take a step back and take the highest possible guidance in that moment. And for that, I feel that a slowness in life is required, a slow down in life and not rushing after one result to another result and one ambition to another. Yeah.
Monica, if time permits, maybe if you can give one example of how this processing is happening. For example, say if there are two individuals who are just seeing a one stimulus, say कैसे example, अब दो लोग खड़े हैं और say in front of both of them has one samosa, for example. अभी क्या होता है उसके बाद से both of the people have the same psychic voice. I mean psychic being का voice same होगा, but कुछ और voice है जो एक बंदे को trigger करेगा कि yes you can eat that samosa because it is you will satisfy your taste buds. दूसरा person शायद उसको नहीं खाएगा. तो जो डिफरेंस आ रहा है, आई मीन इज इट द डिफरेंस ऑफ द साइकिंग बीइंग और इट इज द डिफरेंस ऑफ द मन जो कि अब साइकिंग बीइंग को फॉलो करने लगा, इसके लिए एक बंदा उसको नहीं खाएगा दूसरा बंदा खा लेगा. तो वो प्रोसेसिंग कैसे होता है, अगर आपको टाइम परमिट होता है दिस वन नेक्स्ट कॉल अगर आप शेयर कर सकेंगे.
No, we can do it right here, Saurabh. I think it's very relevant what you asked. So I think you said it already. You said that the mind is in alignment with the psychic being. You know, so that's the thing. And in the other case, the mind is his own master, and the emotions are their own master. So if my emotions are asking me for this vital fulfillment, you know, that I will get, I'll just go ahead and would not be able to stop myself or take a step back. So you are right. I think that's what I feel when you shared that the mind or the emotions would be then in alignment somehow with the psychic being.
कितनी वॉइसेस हैं अंदर, मैं आई एम ऑलवेज कंफ्यूज कि एक तो साइकिंग बीइंग है जो कि बहुत ही शायद डल वॉइस है, वी हैव टू कीप दिस अप. उसके अलावा एक मन है, फिर क्या एक इंटेलेक्ट नाम की चीज भी होती है, बुद्धि जिसको बोलते हैं, वो अलग है. तो आर देयर थ्री इंडिविजुअल वॉइसेस, इंटेलेक्ट का वॉइस, मन का वॉइस?
एक्चुअली क्या है, वॉइस जो होती है ना, वॉइस हमको सिर्फ मन की ही आती है. साइकिक बीइंग की कोई वॉइस नहीं है.
ओके.
तो जब भी आप बातें सुन रहे हो ना अपने दिमाग में, यू
राइट.
कैन बी श्योर दैट जो बातें हैं वो सारे दिमाग की ही बातें हैं.
और उस दिमाग में भी 50 बातें होती है, एक बोलेगा करो, एक बोला ना. ओके.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग.
राइट.
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल टोटली. और जो साइकिक बीइंग की बात करते हैं, जब हम इनर वॉइस की बात करते हैं, दैट्स मोर अ नोइंग. आई नो दैट दिस इज नॉट गुड फॉर मी. इट्स नॉट अ वॉइस, आवाज नहीं है. हाँ,
एक फीलिंग काइंड ऑफ होती है शायद.
मोर लाइक अ फीलिंग. यस.
गॉट इट. थैंक्स.
जैसे आप इमेजिन करो, यू नो, इमेजिन दैट यू आर गोइंग टू ऑफिस, you know, and you see somebody needy on the way, and you are so rushing to the office that you don't stop. But when you reach the office, then something in you just remembers that child on the street again, that maybe I could have stopped, you know, why didn't I stop? So that knowing, you know, that it comes back to you, that why didn't I stop? And many a times Dr. Ramesh Bijlani also in his books shares that many a times this haunts us to our deathbed, that why didn't I, you know, attend to that voice that came to me, and I knew that that was right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we need to have our failures here, because without failures we don't get convinced of this inner guidance. So many a times we have to fail, know that yes, I was not able to follow it, and I did suffer after that. I was feeling guilty all the time, and I could have done better, you know. But then slowly, that's what we call as, you know, maturity as a human being, that slowly you realize that, you know, it's always wiser and better for all of us to listen to the inner guidance. So anything more, anyone at this point?
I know it's very interesting topic. So एक और question.
हाँ,
जैसे किसी suppose somebody is getting insulted in a public forum. अभी उस टाइम पे मन का जो voice is very agitated कि मुझे insult हुआ है, वो बहुत ही vocal होता है. बट उस समय साइकिक बीइंग क्या बोल रहा होता है, या क्या फील कर रहा होता है कि क्या इट्स ओके टू गेट इंसल्टेड, या साइकिक बीइंग का रोल उस समय क्या है, या कैसे सुने उसको, उस फीलिंग को?
So it's like, you know, first of all, Saurabh, I would say there is no formula to it, है ना. तो हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि एक ही फॉर्मूला है जो हर बंदे के लिए रिपीट होगा, you know, because then it will become very simple. फिर हम mysticism की बात नहीं करेंगे जब हम, you know, we talk about mysticism ना. So if we just put a formula to it and apply it in all ways, you know, then it will not be that beautiful. So definitely there is a healthy boundary that we have to preserve. Let me share something on this that you have touched. So I was reading a book where this fellow who has studied a lot, he was sharing that studied a lot on patients, autoimmune conditions and cancer patients. So he was studying that in autoimmune patients and in cancer patients, there is one thing which is very, very common and frequent, which is their inability to say no. For example, if somebody is insulting me, the example that you shared, I'm not able to say no. I stay there. I do not go out of the place, and I allow the other person to insult me. So this is a breach of my healthy boundary. And when we do this, when we are not able to say no to abuse, then the mind cannot say no. The mind is saying, okay, okay, kar lo jitna torture karna hai. But then the body starts to say no through diseases. So there is a healthy boundary that we have to maintain, although we say that we are all one. Yeah, and that's true. We are all one at the base. But we need to know that, okay, this is my self dignity. You cannot cross this boundary. So yes, you are my loved one, but I need to say no here because I'll be torturing myself if I don't say no. So psychic being's voice is also coming very one with this, what I'm sharing right now, and what you asked, beautiful question again, that if I'm getting insulted, I would know that I would know there would be a knowing in that moment. I would feel that uneasiness, that when we are not following the voice of psychic, Mother and Sri Aurobindo say, then we feel an uneasiness. So standing there getting insulted, for sure I'll be feeling uneasy. So you have to follow your ease in that moment, that what will make me easy, because here I am very, very uneasy. So one thing is that you communicate to that person that this is not the right way. Maybe that goes well with you. The other thing is that you leave that place, and do not allow the hurt or abuse to go on. So yeah, again, different ways can be there, but this healthy boundary needs to be maintained. One should know how to say no and when to say no. Yeah, anyone else? Anything on this? Okay. So let us move ahead then, and please keep asking or putting your comments and reflections. So
So, Monica, I have a question, which is that, if people have repeatedly, experienced trauma, their sense of boundaries get distorted, basically. So, how can it be brought back to a normal?
So Birenji, depend karega. I think depend karega because there are so many modalities of healing nowadays available that it will depend on person to person, the situation, and how to deal with that. So according to me, if I can use that, one would need the help of a healer or a therapist or energy healers, who can work with the core issue and then get a sense of healthy self back. So, yeah, good that you brought this up, Birenji. So we often talk about surrendering the ego. Hmm? But for a person whose ego is not healthily developed, no surrender will work. So it has to be in steps. Like I have to first develop a healthy sense of ego. And if my healthy sense of ego has not been developed, it has been distorted, it's a very unhealthy sense of ego, then I'll have to work upon that first. So with the help of trainers, therapists, healers, counseling, I'll have to first bring in me a sense of that, I am loved. I am worth it, that it's good to take care of myself. So first, that kind of a boundary is first you do this self loving kind of a thing. You bring yourself back home, develop a healthy sense of ego that it's good to take care of myself. I can say no because it tortures me. And then when the ego is healthily developed, then you offer it slowly on the path, if that is your calling on in this life, what we call as surrender. So what you are sharing, I think it will depend on person to person and issues of what is there from the childhood.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. But it's beautiful to resolve these issues because, you know, a human life, again, people say that human life is a precious birth. So it's beautiful, although it's very challenging, if we can work on these. First of all, notice that yes, there is a conflict I'm going through, and then get in touch with the right people who can guide you forward, you know, put you in touch with people who can guide you and put your I can say, if I can say, put you in touch back with your light, you know, and then with a healthy sense of belonging and ego that yes, you are valued, you are loved, you are special, then this unique individuality can be offered or surrendered to the divine, if that is to happen in this lifetime. Yeah. Any further reflections, anyone? Okay, so let's go. I'll just move ahead then, keep sharing. Yeah, so this is where I stopped, that by making a right choice, which is in alignment with the inner guidance, I get the parallel result I get is a lasting happiness, that I don't have to bother myself and think about the issue again and again and again. In fact, when I make a right choice, I can be, when I'm sleeping during the end of the day, you know, I can be very happy that I made that choice. So I can be really glad about it, that thank God that I heard my voice and it feels good that I heard that voice. Yeah. So this gives us joy. Following the guidance of psychic being brings joy in life. Yeah. And that is why it's so important. I think, Saurabh, yesterday you were talking about, you know, meditations and the results from meditation. So this is a parallel result. Now, when I'm following the voice of inner guidance, then I'm not waiting for something to happen after 2 days. You know, the parallel result that I get is I get joy, the joy of giving, or the joy of, you know, whatever, doing the right thing at the right moment of time. So then I would not say that you know, इसके बिना, इसके अलावा तो मैं कुछ और ही कर लेता, you know. तो जब मैं ये वाला पढ़ रही थी तो मुझे आपका रिमार्क भी याद आया, and I thought I'll share this with you, that it's a parallel, कर्म ही फल है जब बात करते हैं ना, that the very action is the fruit of your result, the action. So that also goes parallelly here. And then he says that also it is in our hands. So this joy, the joy of following the inner guidance, is in our hands. This does not have to depend upon outer situations. Whether I become a teacher, not become a teacher, whether I become a media person, not become a media person, doesn't matter. You know, because I am making the right choices for whatever raw material I have right now. So the joy that I experience in my being is totally in my hands. It's not dependent. I'm not giving power away to external situations. So this gives us our power back. We reclaim our power, that no matter whether I am in jail or not, I'll be doing whatever, you know, is the guidance, inner guidance. So he says that this is the best version of happiness, and this is in our hands. It's totally, we are in charge of it. We are not in charge of external situations, but we are in charge of making the right choices. The other thing that he says, that we also get mental peace, lasting mental peace. Whenever I make a right choice, I get a lasting mental peace. Yeah. Otherwise, this nagging feeling comes back. You know, you feel guilty that why didn't I offer that thing to that person? You know, why was I so miserly, or, you know, why did I not do that? So it comes back again and again, that guilt thing. Yeah. So then we were sharing that it may appear that always there is a conflict between emotions, intellect, and the psychic being. I think Saurabh was touching upon it. कि मन कुछ और कह रहा है, emotions कुछ और कह रहे हैं, psychic being की voice कुछ और है. But he says, but these instruments, the mind, intellect, they are both belonging to the similar sphere, the mind and the intellect, the emotions and the body also. Once they get attuned to the inner guidance, then they can refine themselves on the way, get better and better and better attuned to the inner guidance. Now they will not stray that frequently as they used to earlier, कि कभी इधर चले गए, कभी इधर चले गए. Now they know that, okay, it is for my higher good that I am following this inner voice, and not only higher good, I feel better. I feel good about it. Yeah. So yeah, this is that. And now the reason, what we were talking earlier, that reason now also starts to become a supporter of the inner voice. So reason has this capacity that it can support from a different points, इस तरह से रीजन कर दिया, उस तरह से रीजन कर दिया और बोला कि ये बिल्कुल सही बात है, राइट? सो यही कैपेसिटी रीजन की टू सपोर्ट whatever the process of action is can also be followed when you are following the inner voice. That reason now becomes a collaborator, and it makes good reasons, higher reasons, which support the why you should follow the inner guidance. Yeah, so reason becomes a helper here. Reason is not following what emotions are saying, it is following the inner guidance. Yeah. And then one thing again he shares, which is very beautiful, difference between the conscience and the psychic being. When we say कि मेरा ज़मीर ये कह रहा है, in Hindi we call ज़मीर conscience, and the voice of inner truth or inner guidance. So would anybody like to share any reflections at the present, if you have any understanding that what would be the voice of your conscience and what would be the voice of the inner guidance? Is there any difference at all, or are they just one? And any sharing on that?
In my view, conscience must be something to do with, the values that one has been brought up with, right or wrong. It's all subjective, but inner voice probably has some absolute, rather than relative standards, basically. That's just my understanding. It might be wrong, but that's what it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Yes, Shweta.
Yeah, conscience would be more to do with morality and how you've been brought up, but inner voice is like completely like, beyond that, non-judgmental.
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Anyone else? Any sharings on difference or parallel between conscience and the psychic being or the inner voice?
What is this conscience now? I mean, is this a new parameter now?
So conscience is something which we call ना कि मेरे ज़मीर ने मुझे allow नहीं किया, or my conscience did not allow me to do that. So what do you mean by conscience according to your present understanding?
Is it not the same as man ki voice?
Yeah, and yeah, go ahead, please share more.
Like, yes, I mean, at times when somebody, again, is taking example of insulting, of course, if I go with my conscience, I do feel that I am being insulted. But other side, at times I do understand why somebody is doing that. Maybe trying to understand their side of the situation also, which gives me some reasoning and some relief कि नहीं शायद उसके लाइफ में कुछ और issues चल रहे होंगे. That's the reason उसका जो output है, that's not very conducive to my own thought process. But it helps to understand others person. It helps to adjust to the current situation, if I may say that way. बट थोड़ा सा मुझे अभी डाउट रहता है कि ये सब सोच कौन रहा है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just share on this. So he says that conscience, as you were sharing, Birenji and Shweta, conscience is the sense of right and wrong. What we have been conditioned with. So absolutely in alignment with what Saurabh also was sharing, the voice of the mind actually, because we see that the mind gets conditioned over, in whatever culture, in whatever environment, family environment, or whatever outer culture I am being brought up with, my conscience develops according to that. So it is coming from the mind only, that people told me that it's not good to wear short skirts because, you know, people can stare at you or whatever. But while in the other culture, you know, things are different. In other culture, it doesn't matter even if you are completely naked, doesn't matter. So the conscience develops differently according to different culture. So conscience is the sense of right or wrong, as you were sharing, that a person thinks is his own judgment. So we think that this is my judgment, but slowly as we grow adults, we realize that this is all coming from outside. I am being conditioned to see that this is wrong, this is not the way to behave. Yeah. Conscience, he says, conscience is a mix of the voice of psychic being and what the person has learned, the rights and wrongs from the society. Yeah. So in one culture, it may be something else. In the other culture, it may be something else. What conscience does, or the conditioning of the mind does, is it dilutes the voice of the soul. And that's why the conflict comes. So although I may have a knowing that for me, at this point of time, this is the right thing to do, but the conditioned mind will say, no, 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 you can't do it because you are the daughter-in-law. Yeah. So that comes in the picture. So it dilutes the voice of the soul. Conscience dilutes, or a conditioned mind dilutes the voice of the soul. And it is the voice of the psychic colored by cultural influences. You know, now for me, it became very, very clear when I was going through this, that it actually does happen. That maybe you know what is the right thing for you to do, but you are not able to follow it owing to the conditioned mind. What will people say of me? You know, what will people think of me? Would I still get their approval? You know, one thing which we hanker after, you know, getting people's approval in our life. And for that, we dilute the voice of the soul. Yeah. So anything at this? Okay. So here, you know, so we see that now the psychic being is the inner guidance. And from time to time in our life, it may be not all at once, like all my life, I'm just listening to the psychic. But from time to time in our life, this light shines and I'm able to follow it. And it makes me more and more a better person. The more I follow this guidance, the more a better human being I become. So I cannot possibly, it cannot be that I completely hide away the light of psychic being. From time to time, it keeps on shining, showing its face through, you know, several circumstances. And I think that would be one of the things that would be giving us hope, especially in cases where are people who have committed, say, multiple number of crimes. So if there is no light in them left, you know, then there is no hope. Yeah. But the light is still there. The only thing that we have to do is to come compassionately on ground with them and understand why they did, why they felt the need to do the crime again and again, you know, what was really torturing them, and then get back in touch with their inner light, so that they also deserve a better life moving on, and they don't have to have this burden of crimes on their life and the whole life is gone in under such burden. So this gives us hope actually, that this light never dies. It is always untouched. And even a person who may be committing umpteen number of crimes again and again, we do, you know, we perform subtle crimes every day when we hurt someone and, you know, speak out things which are not necessary to speak out. That is again a crime, a subtle level of crime which we don't see. And then when we are relaxed, we are able to take a pause. We also see that there is a light which can guide me if I'm ready to listen to it. Yeah. Okay, so then we come to the end of this part, the journey of life, the driver, the vehicle, and the goal. And the goal now he shares towards the end of the chapter is the goal is growth of consciousness. The goal is progress as a human being. Whenever we are progressing, we are joyful. You know, whenever we are really fulfilling our deepest desires for progress, we are very, very fulfilled, very contented. Yeah, so the goal of life is, yes, happiness, but the happiness coming from progress. It's not the happiness coming from satisfaction of just the superficial desires, because they are not lasting. While this progress oriented happiness is lasting happiness, even when you have difficulties on the path, you know that they are for a reason. So that gives me joy that, okay, the time is tough, painful, challenging, but once I go closer and find out more about myself, it will bring me more satisfaction and joy. Yeah, so this is what we call as spiritual growth, or the growth of consciousness, or union with the divine, when we talk about this journey of life. Yeah, so any questions so far, any reflections, any sharings?
One query, maybe little out of the topic, Monica, but जैसे इस journey of life में what is the role of our this sense organs? Say for example, whenever we have a very good fragrance, it somehow we understand that this is good, this is a soothing fragrance, so let's go about it, like fragrance of a flower or something like that. But on the other side, जब हमारे पास कुछ ऐसा food आता जो कि looks to be very tasty, but शायद वो हमारी body के लिए conducive ना हो, तो वहाँ पे फिर conflict आ जाता है. तो somehow one side of your sense organs are supporting your journey. चाहे वो like for example if you talk about a voice, अगर बहुत ही loud noise होगा तो आपको आपकी body को accept नहीं करेगी वो. This will reject. You will try to run away from there. Same goes with your fragrance वाला thing. Your nose will accept only the good fragrance. लेकिन जो ये टेस्ट बर्ड वाला जो है आपका टंग है, ये समथिंग इज एक्सेप्ट ऑलवेज दोज थिंग्स विच मे बी वेरी गुड टेस्ट इन नेचर, बट शायद आपकी बॉडी के लिए एक्सेप्टेबल ना हो, वो हेल्दी ना हो. सो देन आई स्टार्ट थिंकिंग कि शायद हमारा कोई दुश्मन बैठा है अंदर, वो टंग की हमारी दुश्मन है, जबकि जो ईयर है एंड नोज इज आवर सपोर्टिव. So then I keep confusing कि शायद कुछ गलत सोच रहा हूँ. This is not the way actually I understand.
Saurabh, I think absolutely beautiful, what you are sharing, and that is one of the reasons why, for example, people like Kabir or other mystics have said that be aware of these senses. Because the way we are, half in ignorance and half in life, the way we are, we do get strayed by the senses. So we have this inner sense of incompletion. We have this inner sense of lack of something, as if I'm missing something. And in order to fulfill that inner void, what I do is I try to consume people in my life. I try to consume money, power. I try to consume these things that you are saying, even drugs or other things, so that I feel contented and fulfilled. So the intention behind all this is absolutely beautiful intention. The intention is that I want to be fulfilled. If you look at the root of the intention, it's a beautiful intention. That you are seeing that you are missing something, and I want to be fulfilled. It's not a beautiful thing to always keep on feeling this lack within ourselves. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo say here that the senses do not have to be shunned. That you don't have to kill your senses. Slowly, in the light of the psychic, in the light of inner guidance, you have to refine the senses. Now, refinement is something absolutely different from shunning the senses. कि ये तो खराब ही है, Senses are a tool. Senses per se are not really abusive. You go out and you smell a flower. It's a beautiful smell, as you were sharing. And it gives you a certain kind of a joy when you connect with nature through that smell of a forest, or, when the smell comes after the rain, or all kinds of different smells. So they are our companions in this journey of life. But what we do, coming out of egos, coming out of our incompletion, we try to fulfill ourselves through the senses. And there we always fail, because at once I can eat this much, okay? And in that moment, I may feel really full. But then I torture my body, as you are sharing. I eat so much that it tortures my body. So we see that this sense of fulfillment is very temporary. So can I try to find something which is lasting? I am seeking for fulfillment, And I'm also seeing that I'm not really truly getting a lasting fulfillment if I just go by the senses. If I am doing drugs, I have to get the drugs again and again, to get fulfilled. If I'm eating, then I have to get the food again and again. So it is something which is totally dependent on the external situation to have fulfillment. So again, getting in touch with ourselves more closely and looking that, yes, I'm seeking for fulfillment. That is my inner need. But is this giving me fulfillment? Is running after food really making me fulfilled lastingly? Or is it just making me handicapped that I need to have that food again and again and only then I will get fulfilled? So taking it towards the other direction, that yes, fulfillment we need to touch in our being, and then we need to also use the senses in a beautiful way rather than this way of consumerism, कि भर लिया क्योंकि उससे भरता नहीं है. Even if you look at back at your life, you would see that भरा नहीं कभी भी. ऐसा लगा कि भर गया. For a moment you may feel that I feel really good after eating this much, but really you become empty again. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about refinement of senses, transformation of senses, and we will, in our course of sessions, we will touch upon that.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Yeah, so anything more, anyone at this moment? Okay, so I'll just then take it forward. So then he talks of 3 more ingredients towards the end to make this journey ahead fulfilling the purpose of life. One is, we've already talked about that, our attitude towards work. That usually our attitude is, अच्छा कितना पैसा मिलेगा, कितने hours काम करना पड़ेगा. So we always take it as a burden on me, that, oh, this is the burden I have to carry just because I need the money. Yeah. So the attitude towards work has to be not how it fulfills my desires, but how it helps others. Now, this is something which maybe we can think about, when we are in our own silences, that whatever work we are doing, is it in parallel with this kind of an orientation, that how is it helping people around me and myself and being paid is incidental. Yes, I'm getting paid, but I'm not working to get paid, because whenever we make anything as a means to an end, it becomes a burden on my shoulder. So if I am doing a work which I love to do and which I love the impact it has on people around me, I love the impact and I want to do more and more. I want to offer myself more, and by side I also get a bit of payment. So what can be more beautiful than that? So the attitude towards work also needs to be checked if I have to have a fulfilling life. Second is attitude towards unexpected events. Now we see that accidents can happen, people get diseases, things happen in life. Now what is my attitude towards them? And more often than not, you may have seen many documentaries come about people who have gone through really challenging illnesses, accidents, traumas, tragedies, and their spirit has shown even more after the traumas, after they have gone through those happenings, accidents, or challenges. So if we can use all the events of life for nothing but making me a better person, getting me more and more in touch with my inner light, I think then we cannot stop this beauty in our life. It will be just an ever unfolding process in life, that yes, anything unexpected can happen to anyone or me, and I am here, I will be just seeing that can I use this event to make me a better person. And it's not like a mechanical thing that you have to ask yourself, it will just happen once you just are ready, that I am ready to face anything in my life because I know that there is a purpose to every event in my life. So if the attitude towards life events, unexpected events are set right, then it actually becomes a beautiful unfolding, the whole life. Then we won't find ourselves saying that, oh my God, God is so cruel. How could you do this to me? Because events happen, happen, things have their own way of working. And we don't know what good that event will bring in our life, because we have a very limited view of good and bad. Yeah. If my family is good, then I am good. If something happens to my family, then that is bad. Yeah. So this is how limited our view is. But even now, if all of us reflect on the pandemic, yes, it has taken away many, many lives, many, many loved ones. And, but still, it has given us so much. On a larger picture, if we see that it has slowed down our pace, it has made us to look more inwardly, and not running towards the malls and all the time just running in our life. So there are hidden forces at play, and it's hard to see everything at once. And the third and the last point he shares is that we should be open to change the vehicle. So if I am, say, I have to change the job from a teacher, I have to become maybe an assistant to somewhere. Yeah, okay, that's the call. So I have to be really open. Maybe the family has to change, maybe the location has to change. So all these things will keep on changing. And if I have this attitude that the vehicle can change, but the goal is one, the growth of consciousness, and all my actions, all my choices have to go forward towards this goal, then it becomes a bit not really tough on ourselves. Yeah, so this is where he now ends at this goal and journey of life, you and the voice of the psychic being. And now after this, we will be talking about another little book I'll be taking reflections from, Mother and Sri Aurobindo on education. So where they talk about the 3 basic principles of education, which are relevant not only for children, although this is supposed to be for children, but this is not only for children, but for all age groups, because we are learning all the time. Yeah. So I'll just take a pause here again and see if there are any reflections at this point, and then we can maybe take,
Um,
yeah.
Monica, I agree with your point. The goal is basically the growth of consciousness and, to use the difficulties in life to become a better person. How does one convert this in practice? Because, we tend to get bogged down by so many negative events and they cloud our thinking and don't allow us to move in that direction. So what are the practical things that can be done to move in that direction?
So Birenji, why don't you share one of such negative happenings which does not allow you to progress? Why don't you share one example, because it will be nice for all of us. And take any example which
No, so
seems like an obstacle.
yeah, so for me, let me say it quite. The fact was, being sent to a boarding school at the age of 9 against my wishes, and it actually led me to so many negative things in my life. I Till today I struggle with finding answers why my parents did what they did. I still struggle with that. Okay, because I had spoken to them, I told them I don't want to be there, and it went on and on and on till I finally in my teens rebelled and said I will not go back there anymore. Right. So it took 6.5 years with so much of psychological turmoil that happened after that. I was just 9 years old at that point in time, right? So for me to think about karma, to think about all this, and to think that I had committed sins that led to all this, it just does not gel in my mind. Actually, yeah, I'm being very honest about it. So I've struggled to put that phase out of my life, but it's never happened. It's never left me, even so many years down the line.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Birenji, absolutely with you. And you are absolutely right that at 9 years of age, and basically mostly these traumas happen in early age, and then we carry it throughout our adult life. Uh, So I would not say that, and I've never shared that this is a result of some bad karma, not at all, and this could have been saved, if a better parenting, if a better childhood could have been there, maybe the things could have been different. And in these kind of cases, I was sharing with Shweta also, we need to go to healers, therapists. I have been to some, and I can share references if you want to, because this is something which is sticking and you want to let go of it, but you are not able to. There is still regret, there is still things that are sticking onto you from the past, and it is not letting you move. So as I was sharing, that there are so many healing modalities that are available nowadays, and we must make use of them. So I will share one of the things which I shared with Shweta also and other people also. Uh, Again, working with the inner child, because at that point of time you were so young, and you needed somebody adult to stand with you, because you were not able to stand by yourself. So what we do in this approach is inner child, which a healer or a therapist would do, obviously. uh, you go back to that inner child, the child that you are carrying in you, and you hold the child. You almost, like, as if you're touching that point of time. So you go back, this is the adult person. No, no, Saurabh, this is just a plain simple inner child healing and energy healing. This is not Akashic record. So you go back, this is just emotional work, energy work that we do with people who are expert in these areas. So you go back to the child who is suffering, and this is your adult self. Yeah? And it goes back to the self and it says, sorry, I was not there with you when you needed me the most. Yeah. And now I will hold you and carry you, and I will be with you forever and will never leave you. So this sounds very simple. It's not that simple, because it is a lot of subtle work that is involved. So I would suggest then, in that case where things are sticking onto from past and one is not able to let go, it's very good to get in touch with such healers and therapists. Yeah. Because
Okay, so if you can share some, that will be great, because I have been going to a number of people, but it just does not get to the depth that it requires to go to.
yeah, I will share the details with you.
Yeah.
One of the thing that nowadays many people are stressing upon is a good parenting, especially in the early years of your life, your kid's life. Because we always talk about attachment is suffering, but attachment is there for a purpose. When the child is just thrust into this world, a different alien world, a child has come from, the soul has come from divine consciousness, and look at the world that we have here. It's pretty ugly and messy at times. The child needs to be nurtured in a very lovable and harmonious surroundings. And most of the times as parents we are so conflicted, as parents we are so wounded, that we are not able to give a loving atmosphere to the child, and that does the trauma. And if we are not able to heal this trauma, we will always be conflicted and wounded. While as a human being we have the opportunity in this very life that we work on these issues, heal our older traumas, and then begin a new journey ahead. Without healing, it's hard to have this shift of consciousness.
Just to add on, I'll just take one more minute of yours. The larger point, and connecting it to what you were saying, what I have really struggled, and this is where my personal struggle is, that what have those lessons from those days? I still don't know, because it's all so negative in my mind. I see nothing positive out of it. So I've struggled to make sense of those 6.5 years, actually.
Yeah, absolutely with you, Birenji. And when I would not say that there was always a good takeaway, that yes, you had abuse and look where you are right now. So good to have abuse. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yet, the people who are skilled at these techniques, the healers, somehow they also address the story that yes, as a kid I was so helpless and I made up this story in the head, and abuse in no way can be justified. But now we have to grow past it. Now we, because it is clinging on to us, it is kind of being an obstacle on our way. But now this obstacle can become a stepping stone once you are ready to work with this. So I think they also have the capacity, those healers, that what they do is they allow you to get in touch with your deeper light. When the light shines out, then these issues wither away, fall away, and you are able to see that okay, that was it, I had to go through that, but now I have myself. Now what can I do with this remaining life that I have? So yeah, I would say that why not experiment with that, and I will share the details later. And uh, it would be a very adventurous and experimentative journey. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes,
So,
Shweta.
masters and mystics also say that uh, you choose your journey when you come. So definitely all this would be part of a larger understanding, no? That you had to go through all this for your journey ahead. So isn't that again like, I would
So
say
that
like
is the part of it. Yeah,
a
absolutely.
dichotomy, there.
Yeah,
Like,
there is.
yeah. So you had to go through this, and yet you want. So I personally feel they are at two different levels. One is at a mental level, one is at a very higher realm. मतलब ऑर्बिट्स के हिसाब से सोचो तो दिखता है मुझे कि ये एक ऑर्बिट है और ये दूसरा ऑर्बिट है, दोनों भी
Absolutely.
मैं हूँ.
Yeah,
Like I can see that also. And at a higher orbit I'm much more functional, but like at that lower orbit of mental thing, वो लगता है कि नहीं, ये एक glitch है कहीं पे. But at the higher orbit I can see through it कि oh, it doesn't matter, and yet there is this glitch in the which needs to be so I'm not even sure if needs to be addressed. But I'll tell you what, like my daughter says. So she says that a younger one, like all of 15 years, and she gave me an example. She says कि देखो मम्मा, जैसे prodigies होते हैं, तो prodigies होते हैं तो उनको काफ़ी कुछ ना सोचो म्यूज़िक में, पियानो में वगैरह, उनको बेसिक थिंग्स पता नहीं होते, लेकिन उनको बहुत बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ें वो कर पाते. बट इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर देम टू लर्न दोज बेसिक कीज ऑल्सो. दैट इज what she told me. So I am going by that now, but I am still not it's a very confusing thing. एक mental level पे है और एक दूसरे level पे है. तो whether the spiritual journey will take care of it, or this thing, uh, like this small thing at that mental level, it is interrelated, but already you moved above that. So वो confusion होता है कभी, and it was meant. And also somewhere you are grateful for all those experiences which always made you understand at a deeper level. तो वो भी है. तो somewhere पता नहीं, it's a constant thing in the mind.
absolutely. Shweta, I think you have expressed it so beautifully. And I used to also mention this, that as if there are two floors. On the level of the ego or the mind, there will always be conflict. While on the other level of the psychic, what you are sharing, that the higher plane where I am, everything seems okay. But then again and again, you get pulled towards the lower plane. Not wantingly, but you get pulled. So what I have experienced is that uh, you are right, that as we go ahead on the spiritual path, the story, me and my story, takes less and less priority, and you mostly are able to see yourself as something larger than me and my story. But yet there are very, very, I would say, tough knots at times, which pull you back again and again to the mental level or the ego and me and my story, and it's
Yes,
important to
yes.
address them at
Hmm.
times. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they pull you back. Sometimes they catch you unaware.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
वो होता है.
और पता है मुझे लगता है कि if you address even one story in your head, very good, you know, if you are dealing with, for example, if I do inner child healing and I address one knot very strongly and I get in touch with more and more with my inner light, you will see that it helps you to take care of the other stories. So it's not that, oh, see, we will have innumerable number of knots as a human being because we have so many past lives. So innumerable number of knots must be there that are waiting for healing. I am not going to go back to all those knots one by one and heal them. That is not possible. Yeah. But what is possible is to get in touch with at least a number of knots, a couple of knots, so that I know always that those stories can always remain and I can always choose more and more the plane of the being that I want for myself. You know, so this conviction to be here works, more operational, becomes more operational.
Okay, yeah, true. Especially if the attachment is very deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome. And thank you so much for sharing so openly, and Birenji and Shweta both. Yeah, so anything more at this point, anyone? So I'll just then share today, it's 4:12. I'll share just the basic principles of, just a second. Yeah, so I'll just share the basic principles of education for all of us as adults also and for children also, and then we can close the session after that. So 3 basic principles of integral education, this education that we talked about, which is centered around the psychic. The first point, according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, is nothing can be taught. You know, and he says that a teacher is not an instructor or a taskmaster. He is a helper, a guide, a facilitator. He can facilitate the learning. His business is to suggest, not to impose. He can suggest, he can offer, like, you know, a guest comes and we offer sweets. We don't put the sweets in the mouth. At times we may do that, but maybe a person is diabetic, he does not want to have it. So the imposing is not required. Just the suggestion is required. The teacher shows the pupil how to perfect his instruments of knowledge, which is the mind, the intellect, and the feelings, as we were talking, and encourages the process. You know, when you are seeing that the child is playing, so you encourage or nurture the process. You don't push the process. He does not impart knowledge, but shows him how to acquire knowledge for himself. You know, so that we enable the other person. We don't make the other person dependent on ourselves. So at times I may go, you know, you may be needing water, you know, and I know the well, for example. So I go at times with you and show you, okay, here is the well, and you can find out the process to fetch the water. But every time I will not go along with you. Now you know, and you are enabled so that you can fetch water for yourself. You can make all the necessary arrangements. So that is the task as a teacher, as a facilitator, even when we are working with ourselves. You know, for example, I am working with myself. So my task is to offer myself, nurture myself, but not to force and impose. कि अरे mind shut क्यों नहीं हो रहा, shut हो जाए, you know, चुप क्यों नहीं हो रहा, monkey mind क्यों है. So not imposing and forcing, but suggesting. Yeah? He does not call forth the knowledge that is within. He only shows him where it lies. You know, by questioning, by invoking reflections, and by suggesting that, hey, why don't you find out for yourself? So the teacher can put several reflective questions to the child or to the adult or whatever, so that then he becomes enabled and is not completely just dependent on the teacher. He enables, you know, the teacher can enable and empower the student slowly. And then this also means, you know, in Dr. Ramesh Bijlani's book, it was there that when mother says nothing can be taught, it does not mean that the teacher is not necessary. It just means that when the teacher is, when the student is ready, only then things can be received. While, you know, there may be 10 students in a class, A teacher is only one. For 5 of them, the teacher is amazing. But for 5 of them, he's totally bakwas. So what matters is how receptive I am. And when I am receptive enough, then only I can be taught, or I can learn and I can receive. Yeah? So this is the first principle, that nothing can be taught. Second is that the mind has to be consulted in its own growth. So I cannot force something on you which is against your nature. I can suggest things to you, and I would suggest it in such a way that you feel, oh, I feel this is very important. So the mind is along with. Mind says, yes, whatever I have heard and listened, it feels that this will benefit me. So the mind itself becomes a collaborator in the process of learning. Yeah, so the mind has to be consulted for its growth. For example, maybe I'm sending my children to a fitness class. Now, one way is that I push them to a fitness class, and the other way is that I talk about it and I discuss how the fitness class was, and what did you learn, and what was the good thing that you liked, what was the thing that you did not like, how can we improve. So by these discussions, the mind becomes a collaborator and it wants to learn. So this is one thing which remains with us as adults, the willingness to learn in life, the willingness to be a better and better and better version of ourselves. And if that is there in a person, I think it's such a vibrance, and a gift to world, that wherever you go, you will be very kind of full of brightness and optimism, that no matter what may happen, I'm ready to go through. Yeah, because the mind is collaborating. And then he also talks about here, that mother tongue, the importance of mother tongue, that if I am born and brought up in India, for example, so Hindi should be, or the northern part of wherever Hindi works, Hindi should be my initial learning language. For people who are from maybe South India, maybe Tamil or other South Indian languages, so the mother tongue, the roots of the culture, they have to push the child ahead and not completely alienate himself and put him into English medium school while he loses touch with the mother tongue. So first start with the basics of the child, and then slowly push him or take him towards the other learnings that are possible for him. And then we come, as we are discussing this, we come to the last point, the third point, which is work from near to far. What am I good at right now? Nurture those strengths in me, and what are my weaknesses, and then slowly nurture them also, to transform them into strengths. So not starting from what is appearing very fearful to me, what is appearing very easy to me, I start with that because that is my natural gift. So maybe I'm good at tennis, for example, so I'll begin with tennis because it comes naturally to me, and then slowly maybe I can go to football, or maybe the other chess, or whatever, the other fields that can expand my horizons. So from near to far, working with the strengths of the child, and then transforming the weaknesses into strengths slowly. So these are three principles, and in one of them he says that everyone, each one of us, has something divine in us. We have unique, something very unique to us, a chance of perfection, a strength in however small a sphere which God offers him to take or refuse. Each child is born with a particular strength, and a few couple of areas in which he's very, very talented, strong, and natural. The task is to find it, to develop it, and use it. The chief aim of education should be to help the growing soul to draw out that in itself which is the best and make it perfect for a noble cause. So again, whenever I read these lines, these are so empowering, they fill me with so much of hope and brightness, that each person has something beautiful, a package that we come along with our old sanskaras. We also come with a beautiful package of gifts. And can we slowly be loving towards ourselves? We recognize these gifts. Don't push, for example, somebody may be a good speaker, but you are shy. Yeah. So don't push yourself to be a speaker then. We don't have to force ourselves. Can we work on those areas in which I'm good at? Maybe I am good at writing essays or poetry. So work with that and then slowly, gradually expand in other directions, because that which I'm gifted with is my gift from the divine. I can either refuse to take it or I can nurture it. So these are the basic three principles of integral education, whether working with a child or as adults when we work with ourselves. Yeah. So anything on this?
उनका ये गिफ्ट जो है इतना सरप्राइज क्यों रखा गया है? मतलब वाई, मतलब कई बार पूरी जिंदगी बीत जाती है, समझ में नहीं आता कि मैं किस में अच्छा हूँ. तो if it is so important, if everyone has the gift given, कुछ तरीका नहीं पता करने का? मतलब
सौरभ, आपके बच्चे हैं ना?
हाँ जी.
As a parent, do you see that each one of your child has something special which he is natural at?
देखिए मुझे अपना तो नहीं पता. For my kids, हाँ कभी कभी लगता है कि like one of the kid is more, he can sing well, but वो यूनिक नहीं. मतलब if you talk about singing तो आपको तो millions of people मिल जाएंगे जो singing करते हैं. But is that what we call unique in yourself or unique as a quality in the world?
Yeah, so when we are talking of observation, then we don't go out to the world कि अरे इसमें क्या खास है, वो तो सारे लोग कर, वहां जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So in your two children, I'm assuming that you have two.
Yes.
So I'm sure as a parent, if you have observed, you will see that there are natural inclinations. ठीक है, वो आपके अंदर भी हैं, वो मेरे में भी हैं. ठीक है, होता क्या है that in the normal regular process of education, the way we are educated so far, it dumps those geniuses in us. चांस नहीं मिलता उनको फ्लावर करने का. क्योंकि पापा क्या कहते हैं, मम्मी क्या कहती हैं कि अरे अरे ये क्या करेगा करके, तू इंजीनियर बनना, क्योंकि डिमांड है इंजीनियर्स की. So that's how we dump our geniuses. But I feel that no matter how many years we may have been dumping our genius, at any point of time, if you are ready to explore and get in touch with your talents, it's never too late.
And how this talent can help me grow in my spiritual journey?
So what according to you is growth in spiritual journey?
हाँ, मतलब वो टैलेंट को मैं अपना प्रोफेशन बना सकता हूँ. दैट आई कैन सी कि यस ब्रेड एंड बटर आ रहा है. बट कई बार ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. मतलब द टैलेंट यू व्हाट यू थिंक यू आर गुड एट, देयर इज नो सेलिंग नीड इन द मार्केट.
देखो, स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी की जब हम बात करते हैं सौरभ, what are we seeking from the spiritual journey? Why are we on the spiritual path? For contentment, absolutely. Right? So whenever you get in touch with these assets within you, there is contentment that you feel.
Got it. Thank you so much.
That's how it helps in spiritual journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought this up, Saurabh. So anything more at this point, anyone? Okay, great. So I think let's call it a day here. And I think beautiful questions, doubts, and reflections. I'm very glad all of you participating well and openly and so beautifully. That's really, I feel really blessed to have such a session where people participate and we can allow ourselves to question and discuss. This is really beautiful and helps all of us. Since the session is recorded, it helps all of us who are later on going to listen, that what all can be expanded in this view. So thanks again everyone for joining, and I'll be sharing the document soon and the recording on the group. Thank you again. Thank you for joining.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thank you.